Okay, girls, so those of you who know that E and I have been together for like 14 years. A long time, right? Right. So we met back in 2010, the summer of 2010. I was going into my senior year of high school, and she was going into her sophomore year of college. I can't remember if it was like June or July, but I know for sure that it was the summertime of 2010. So I don't even know if this website is still around, but we met on this website called DownyLink. Oh my gosh. So DownyLink was it was a dating site for people who are lesbians, gay, bisexual, trans, like whatever you are, whatever part of the community, it was somebody on there for you, okay? So she basically slid in my DM and said something in like the lines of like, OMG, you're so beautiful, or you're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. Something on the lines of like calling me like the most beautiful person ever. So of course I'm like, who, me? Okay, then so what's up? So from there we exchanged numbers, and we pretty much was like texting all day, non-stop, back to back, literally like phone glued in the hand, waiting for replies to come back, sending a message like as soon as the response comes back. Girl, whew, them were the days, honey. So that day, actually, one of her favorite aunts actually ended up passing away, which is just so crazy to me how like our connection, like our immediately connection, like started on that day. That's just insane to me. So I remember like when we were texting, she ended up getting a call that her aunt wasn't doing so well, and that day she actually, you know, went to go say her last goodbyes to her aunt. So that night we were on the phone, literally, girl, all night, like for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. You know, her family was there at the house with her, of course, but you know, we were just still on the phone. It was a house full of people. I remember like the background being like super noisy and loud, but we were still on the phone getting to know each other. And that was like the night that I knew like, oh yeah, this is gonna be something. I'm not sure how long it's gonna be something for, but I know it's gonna be something. So while we're on the phone for hours that night, I remember telling her, like, this was so lame. I remember telling her, OMG, I love your voice. I don't know, girl, but I just love her voice. So we were just on the phone for hours and hours and hours. I think like either a day or 2 days after that is when we met in person. So we met in person at TJ Maxx, which is where I used to work, my little teenage job. I remember I was so freaking nervous. It was her and still her best friend till today. They came up there while I was at work. I was barely talking, like I was just so nervous. Mind you, like this was like my first like real girl crush. Well, not girl crush, but like, I don't know. It was like my first real girl relationship, I guess you can say. So I remember I was putting clothes up from the fitting room, like on that they were hanging on a little rack thing, and her best friend walked in, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like she is the cutest thing ever. And her best friend both were just like smiling so hard. And I've always been like super quiet, shy, reserved until I get to like know someone. So the whole time, like they're just there and I'm just working, like not really even trying to hold a conversation. Like I'm just working and moving around, and they're just standing there just smiling, and I'm just like, what do I say? What do I do? So eventually I end up getting back to work. I'm pretty sure we had like small talk in between. I really don't remember what we were talking about, but girl, I was so nervous. I was so freaking scared. So the next day, oh, okay, so wait a minute. That had to have been the second day of me and her like knowing each other. Cause the third day, girl, the third day she ended up coming to my house. And I remember my family had like pizza that night. And I've always like ate my pizza with ranch. And as I was like, you know, you want some or whatever, she said, yeah. We're eating and she's like, do you have syrup? I'm like, syrup? Like syrup that you put on your pancakes? And she's like, yeah. So I'm like, yeah, of course, like we have some, but what do you need it for? And she wanted it for her pizza. So I remember thinking like, what the hell? Like that is so weird, but okay, yeah, sure, here's syrup. So I know that, I remember like that was day 3 because we always joke about how on day 3, I gave up the cookies. Girl. We're not gonna get too much into that, okay? I'm not gonna get too much into that. So moving right along. So since then, like we were basically locked in. Like we did everything together. Like from that point, we were literally like obsessed with each other. It was crazy. All my little like friends, like people that I was like chatting with, talking to, getting like to know. I wasn't in a relationship, but I had like a few little flings, not flings, but like a few people that I was communicating with. I let all of them go. Cleared the roster. Like they had to go. When I said we were locked in from day 1, but really locked in since day 3, we were locked in, did everything together. I let all the little side pieces go, which I should have never did that. I should have never let the side pieces go. So I say that I should have never let the side pieces go because girl, I found out that this girl was cheating on me. When I say my heart was broken, I was so heartbroken. And then she was cheating on me for a girl that I went to the same school with, and she was a grade younger than me. I forgot exactly like how I found out, but that's when the craziness in me kicked in. So for the first time in my life, I was in love. Got cheated on. I'm heartbroken, upset, pissed off. Yeah. So it got to a point to where I figured out that they were still in communication while she was still with me, because we didn't break up at this point. We were still together, still very much in love, happily together, so I thought. So I'm like, you know what, okay, since you want to still be in communications with this biatch, then I got something for the both of y'all. I figured out how to log into her parents' cell phone plan. At that time she was still on the line, on the same plan with her parents, and I blocked the number. How I was able to log in, give the password and all of this stuff to an account that that wasn't even hers, it was like her parents. I don't even know how I did that, but I definitely did it. I blocked her, so no more phone calls were going in or out from her number. So of course eventually she figured out what I had done. So I think that's like when we had like our first like mini breakup actually. And it was because of what I did, which was technically because of what she did, because if you wouldn't have done it in the first place, then I would not have had to do what I had did. So, hey, it is what it is, it ain't what it ain't. And that's what I had to do. So, boom, right? Did that, had our first little mini breakup, girl. Of course we got back together like the next day probably. But even though we got back together the next day, she was still in commute with this girl. So fast forward, now I'm graduating high school. I remember her, my mom and I were at Target. And I don't know what had happened, but I was just like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I deserve better. And from that moment, I broke up with her. We were still in dealings with each other. She had moved out of her parents' house and went and got an apartment, her first apartment, with the girl that she was dating at the time. But yeah, we were still talking and communications and things. I remember it used to be so bad to, like, the girl that she was with at the time used to make her call me and be like yelling in the phone to E, tell her you're not gonna call her no more. Tell her you're not gonna talk to her no more. And E would just be like, Darie, I'm not gonna call you anymore. Darie, I can't talk to you anymore. And then the next day, or sometimes a couple of hours after that, we were back in communications. It was sad. It was sad. So for whatever reason, them two did not work out. And of course, duh, we ended up getting back together. And that's when we got our spot together, which was actually my first apartment. Okay, homegirls, so that's how me and E met each other almost 14 years ago. Of course, it was like a whole lot more drama and shenanigans throughout the 14 years of us being together. But I mean, what long-lasting relationship doesn't have like drama and stuff? But we made it, and we're still making it. We're still here. So with that being said, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Thank you all so much for watching. I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. They don't know that you be on that bullshit.